can hear and see?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, wait a minute. I gotta find, this is gonna be. I think I can just control all this. Close all that. All right. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'll be your host for today's Lunch and Learn. If you have any questions, feel free to post it in the Q&A panel or the chat, and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. And I lost the Zoom chat. I have the webinar chat, but I wanted the panel thing. Ah, there we go. Aha, it was not there. Aha, now I got the chat. Cool, cool. So any questions you may have, go ahead and add it there. Q&A. There we go. Now I got it. My screen wasn't large enough to get it. All right. Cool, cool. Any comments, questions? Welcome, Alexander, and welcome, Peter. Welcome, Jeremy. I see we're just popping in, just enjoying our nice Monday, right? Who does the song? It's just another manic Monday. Oh, ooh. Right, now you got my singing on recording. I forgot who the artist was, but perfect. I got my server all configured. See if I can log into it. Yeah. All right. Come on, Microsoft present. Any comments, questions, criticisms, things you want to know? Not. I can demonstrate something real quick. Something new that I learned in version 9. It's not really new. It's been around for a while. It's just something that's important whenever you're developing integrations into a version 9 project. So I'm going to create a. What do we want to use? I want to be creative. Use a tripod puzzle. The puzzle's pretty cool. Reminds me of like the old like Windows 98, kind of like the 4 squares. But anyway, pick this. We'll say this is my first project. This is for demoing version 9.2. Description can be empty. It isn't empty. I have stuff. Oh no, what's going on with my local? Come on. All right, let's do creative. We shall get puzzle. I like puzzle. We'll say this is my first project. We'll say this is data. Okay, that was weird. This is demoing version 9.2. Perfect. We create the first project. Creating the first project. Cool. Oh, it's even got the little icon there too. Look at that. It's so cool. In version 9.2, what you'll notice is we've added some helpful, what is it, like iconography? I think that's what it's called. I think that's the name of it, to our project. So typically, in order to export or to import stuff into your projects, you would have to click on the either vertical dots, or you have to go back to the project view, right click, and then you'll have some type of import export deployment. Those areas still exist in version 9.2, but if you go into here, we've added a couple of quality of life updates where now you can add a designer folder right here by clicking on that designer folder icon over there. You can import items by clicking on this thing. Obviously, don't have anything to import, so that's why that error is out. I can export my project if I wanted to export my stuff to the repo that I'm currently connected to. So I can easily do all that stuff and utilize these actions to push stuff into that repository if I would like. So you have import, export, and then some other useful actions over here as well. So that's where all that now resides. So it's pretty cool. to see what we have in there as well. So a couple of fun, helpful stuff that we see there. I'm going to share my screen really quick. Let's see. I'm sharing my screen back again. Screen 1. So some helpful stuff. Another thing that's also important to notice is that on the initial release of version 9, we used to have on the info panel a bunch of different pages over here for the dashboard, for like integrations, for dependencies. That stuff has, I think in 9.1 has migrated to the health section over here, where you can set up your configurations for your project over here in regard to error handling and regard to dependencies. I'm pretty sure, I think it's either in configurations right there. It's in configurations is where it moved to. So you can set up your dependencies like you could before. It's found in the configuration drop down over here instead of all the way up at the info panel that resides up here. So just a couple of different things that changed. As you can see, also we have the icon that you've chosen for your first project to also appear as the folder kind of icon located here. So some pretty cool stuff that we got. So, alrighty. Let me check my chat and let me check the QA. Oh, I already have it open. All right, cool. Nothing in the chat and the QA. Okay, cool. So we're gonna have some fun. So let's talk about. I want to mess around with the repository a little bit. The reason why is we've gotten a couple of inquiries inside of um, I'm recently just asking about the decisions repository and just how that works in comparative to version 8 and version 9. The short answer in regard to this is that there is no difference between version 8 and version 9 repositories as of yet. You can still import projects that are version 8 into the repository, and you can also have a version 9 dev server check in changes into the repo. Now, obviously, your two dev servers have to be on the same version because the way a version 8 project looks is vastly different from how a version 9 project looks. So let's go ahead and let's just create some fun flows. We'll say this is my first fun flow. And what we'll do is we'll have a show pop-up step, all right? Because who doesn't like pop-ups? As long as they're not excessive. Like if there's a lot, then yeah, it gets a little cumbersome. I could say hello. I'm gonna say the contents. Hello, fellow humans. We'll go kind of extraterrestrial with this. Hello, fellow humans. And so if I debug this, right, I know it's a very fancy process. Boom, hello, fellow humans. So it talks to me. So if you're ever lonely and you just kind of need someone to talk to, you can have Decision send you messages, and it's a nice, companion. Let's say my project's done, right? I have my ET extraterrestrial flow that just says hello humans to me. Let's say I want to send this into the repository server. So what I can do, and we can see if this is configured, I can check in those changes into the repository that I've already pre-existing and set up. So I'm going to go ahead and send this here. While I'm waiting on this, let's see, we got Andy. Hi, we're using version 9. Want to check what is the best way to transfer data from one folder in S3 to another folder in S3. We choose data using some identifier in the file name. We were thinking of getting a list, rule collection filter, get file, contacts, put file on. Does this sound right? So let's see. So does it sound right? I believe so. I'm gonna give you on mute or allow you to talk. Give me a second to find you. Allow you to talk, Andy. So if you want to give some more color, I believe that sounds that would be good. The only questions that I would ask you to be aware of as you build this is on the rule collection filter. You will just want to be very careful of how many files and what the size of those files are. If the files are large, what could happen is that since the rule collection filter isn't the most performant step, you might experience some performance degradations if you're dealing with a large list of files. And so then what you can do is you can utilize some other ways to get those files, or just find a way in like the Amazon S3 side, what is the command that we can just pull the items via filter on that end, so you don't have to use the filter on the decision side in case you have large or a big list of files. If you don't, then you can use the rule collection filter and the filtering on decisions, but it is something to be aware of.
Hi, this is Smita here. I didn't realize this thing was in Andy's name. Sorry about that. I should have logged in
Oh,
with a different.
no worries. I'm sorry, I
That's
called you the
funny.
wrong name.
No worries. What we are trying to do is we have S3 bucket, right? So we're trying to get a file from one of the folders in S3 based
Hmm.
on something in the file name, like a deal name, deal ID, or something like that.
Sure.
And as after the flow is done, using that, we have to place this file from that S3 location into another folder.
Hmm.
So what is as it could the number of depending on the number of deals, the file size is not going to be big, but the
Okay, that's
number of
good.
files can be huge.
Okay, like how many are
So
we talking?
I'm 100 maybe 100 200. I don't know at this
Okay,
stage.
okay, I gotcha. So basically, what you'd be doing is you're saying you want to pull everything within an S3 bucket that could have at minimum 100 files, right? Give or take.
Correct.
Okay,
It's
cool.
already there in the one of the folders. We would upload it to one of the folders. The basic thing is this is a
Hmm.
client requirement where they have particular standard file.
Hmm.
And one of the things we're thinking of is storing this standard file on the S3 bucket. And to our flow, we are already creating other files and transferring that to S3, which is working fine. But we
Hmm.
also need to club this standard file from one of the folders on S3 and add it on to the files which are generated using the decisions flow.
Hmm.
So we're wondering how and what's the best way we can deal with this.
Best way to like so basically, if I understand, you pulled 100 files. Let's say we'll deal with one file. Take that
Correct.
one file. Decisions creates additional files tied to that record. Let's call it Jared, just for the sake of organization. And so Jared has this extra add Jared 2 file that gets added to the Jared, PDF that or whatever the file is that came from S3. And then there's like
Uh,
two or three other files that get created. Am I off
Correct.
track or? Oh, no, that's right. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
basically what we're doing is we're creating another folder on S3 each time
Hmm.
the decision flow runs, and we add
Okay.
those files which are created on decisions to that particular folder. So
Hmm.
say we have files one a.xml and b.xls or whatever, something like that,
Sure, sure.
which
Whatever
gets
it is. Yeah.
added to the folder. And once that flow is done, we also need to add the standard set, which is already on one of the folders in S3 to that
Hmm.
newly created folder. I mean, we are creating the file folders on the fly and stuff like that. So everything is working fine, but just that we need to copy this file from this new location on S3 to the working folder.
Hmm. Sure. So there, I guess there's not really too much to copy. Basically, if you have it's not too hard to do that in decisions. All you have to
Hmm.
do is send in that data into another variable, and then therefore you have then that data into location. So if I have I think I installed it. If I go to, I have to make this a dependency. Give me 1 second. Manage, and I do dependencies. Come on, don't slow down. Yeah, so my project relies on, we'll grab the AWS module so I can just use some of this, show some of the steps. Uh, go in here. We'll go into flows, my first fun flow. I'm gonna delete this thing. And we'll go into integration. And then there should be AWS. Yeah. And we could do S3. So you can create a folder, which I'm sure is what you're doing, and then you want to put file in S3, right? So essentially what you can do is, let's say I'm taking in a file, right? And we'll say this is file data. And so if I just want to merely copy that file to store somewhere else, I can just create another variable utilizing a create data step. And I can just say that, hey, this is copied file, and then
Uh,
file data.
but I have to first choose the file from S3 based on a deal ID. I'm not creating, in this case, the creation
Mhm.
is already done.
Right, right, right. But so don't get too confused with the name of the step, because all I'm doing here is, right, I'm just saying I already have, let's say I retrieve something from S3, right? So integration, Amazon S3. Where's the let's see, there's a step here called let's see, get objects or get file contents, right? So let's say I'm using this step to pull the file that I need. then all I need to do is just select from flow, grab that file, right, file data, or I can just build the file contents, right? It gets you the file contents.
Mhm.
Then what I can do is I can just build that data, select from flow, grab the file contents, name the file, copied, and then whatever the file name is. And you could do this with the merge plain text too. So I can say copied and then grab whatever the file I'm copying from and then say file name. And then now what's going to happen here is in the flow variable, I have now another file that is made up of a file I've retrieved from my S3.
Mhm.
It's going to have a merge plain text called copy and then whatever that name of the file was. And then I can manipulate that and put that somewhere else, like in another S3 file bucket. I can create a folder in the S3 bucket to store it in. I could do whatever I would need to, but it's pretty much just utilizing this create data step to like copy the variable. So all I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, I have data, create a new bucket, put the data of that file in this new bucket so it creates another file, and then you can move it wherever you want.
Okay, so you're telling me that I can't move directly from get file contents to put file in S3. I have to have that in between step.
Yeah, to copy it. If you just want to move, then you don't really need to utilize this intermediary step. This is just for, this is just, I'm going to name it copy file, right? That's all I'm using this create data step as a copy file. If you
Okay.
just want to move a file to another location, then what you can do is you can say put file in S3 location, and then this has its own file name. So you have to grab the file name of where it's stored and then the path to that S3 bucket, and
Mhm.
then you can put that into that location.
Okay. And path to on the server, it could be the path on S3 bucket. That should still work.
Yep, that's what it, yeah, let me expand this. That's what it's looking for, I believe. I'm not too familiar with these steps. I haven't worked with S3 buckets, but I believe it's a path to file and workflow server. So it
So
might be the part to the local area, but we'd have to test that
yeah,
out.
I think it might be the decision server, right? The workflow server and non S3 bucket.
Path to workflow server, could be. So you're trying to say you just have a file from um, S3 that you're trying to get to.
Yes, I have it. It's from one folder in S3 to another folder in S3.
Local file. Oh, I think I see your question. So you're wondering if is everything just local to S3 and not from S3 to S3?
From one, it's the same thing. What I'm trying to ask is like all
Mm-hmm.
these things, right? Local file to store and workflow server.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean it is? I tried that thing. Like when I try the bucket name and file name, yes, it picks up from the S3 bucket. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're storing it, I feel it's mainly storing on the decision server and not on another S3 location. How do I know that? What that variable actually means?
This one, like where it says file name to store and the
Correct.
bucket name.
The file, no, bucket name is fine. The file where it's going to get picked up, I tried it. So that is from S3 bucket. When you say file
Mm-hmm.
name to store, that thing, I feel it's storing on a path on the server, decision server, and not necessarily another folder on S3. But how can I
So
know what that actually means, or how can I specify the path to say, okay, go to S3 folder, not the decision server?
so here I think this one. So this is the local file to store. So I think this is taking you from the location of here's the local file that's located in decisions and putting it somewhere else.
Okay,
To test that, right? You
but
can. Go
I
ahead.
don't want that, right? Because my it's from S3 to S3. I don't want from decisions.
No, I understand the context, but I'm trying to answer
Okay.
the germane
Okay.
question that you asked of like, how do I know where it's stored?
Okay. Okay.
And the answer to that question would be you could go into, I believe I want to say the default location of the server for files is program files, decisions, and then file storage. And then you can look for the files that are stored here. I believe this is the default location that you'll see if there's local files stored here. Or what you can do is you can create a process. Let's say on my desktop, I added a new folder and I called this like test storage in S3, right? Let's say I did that. And then in this folder, I just created a text file. So let me go into this one. And I could say, where's the like, new text file, right? New text document, boom. And let's say I want to move this text document to that S3 bucket. When you have this Windows Explorer open and then you debug the flow, you should see this document disappear. And then if you go to the S3 target location you put, then you can see it there. And that's how you can confirm like that's the functionality too. Towards it. So now
Okay.
to the other question. I want to say on here, the get file contents. I believe this is where if you want to get the file data, is there any way to delete? Here's what I think probably what you'd have to do is before you would delete files to do that kind of moving process, what you could do is say, hey, let me point to the file name location of the bucket to get the contents. Then I can build that file data, or you can even, let me clean up some of my steps so it's a little, more clear. All right, so over here. Then what you can do is after you get the file contents, you can put the file in S3. And this is where you can say, okay, I want to specify a different bucket location. What's the file name to store? And then you can build the data and map in the contents that you get from that file. And I can say this is, you can have it named the same name of that file that comes in there. And so let's say this is the, file name. I'll put that in here. If I can spell it. Perfect. And then you'd fill out all this bucket information, the file name to store, the region, all that stuff that you'd have on your end. And then once you've confirmed, no, I don't want to save it as a template. Then once you've confirmed that this process actually takes the file data from one location, creates the file in another location, then you could say, I want to delete the file from the pre-existing location. So the one that comes from here. So that file name, we could say, hey, delete it and get the location and delete it from there. And so that gives you that kind of copying process of moving from one S3 to the other S3.
Sure. Thank you. I'll try it.
Yep. Awesome. I thought there was another question. Any other questions?
We did have one in the QA, which I responded to, so it probably disappeared, but it was related to like the I-9 project training. I was there. If you want to send me any of that information, I can do it. If Jared wants to go through it, he asked, can you show a second group of steps on the I-9 training? Which is just like I said, I can gladly give you some of that information, but if you just let me know what you're looking for, second group of steps, I can unmute you too.
Yeah,
Sorry
you can
about that.
talk it. No
Okay,
worries.
you're good.
I didn't specify. I probably should have said the second group of steps inside of the what is it called? The task list. That part I'm a little confused on. Like the create a form. I created. Well, not that part. Sorry. The the one where I have to create a main process flow. That one, it's like a lot of steps on top of each other.
Yeah.
I'm not really understanding how to
I
connect.
can
steps.
gladly get on with you right after this if you'd like, and we can kind of work through it together. I can send you some information as well. Like I
Mhm.
gladly will, but if you'd rather hop on Zoom, whatever's easiest for you is fine with me as well.
That'd be great. I mean, after this, I'm free. Should be.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'll right after this is over, as soon as we end this, I'll send you an email with the Zoom link and we can hop on together.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Cool. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to see if I can troubleshoot a little bit. It's probably because of my install, because I want to import this project into my check-in process flow. It's error calling method. Oh, resources not found. Okay, so let me see if I can go in here, and I want to check in my process. Probably because of my install. I think resource not found, probably because I think that server maybe not working. Let's see if it's online. It's online. Let me see what I put in for the settings. So I can demonstrate kind of what are the changes that really happen. 80 primary. Okay, so no, that is there. Have that. Okay. Cool. So that should be fine. Go to there. So if I want to check in. No, it looks like something with my own internal system won't let me talk to. I want to talk to that specific server. What I wanted to demonstrate is if I logged into this server, right? Let me just log in. This is a local repository that we have. And essentially what you'll see is this is a repository server in version 9. And a lot of these projects that I have here are version 8 projects. So financial lending, folder scaffolding, all this stuff. They're all default, folders, version 8 projects that have been imported in here that people can check in the resources. What I wanted to show is if you did import a version like 9 project into the system, what you would see here is you would actually see like this additional, like a not necessarily branch, but different item here in the projects where it would show you that, hey, this is the manage the public source folder, the public health folder, and all this stuff, right? That's all that happens when you add a version 9 project into a version 9 repo server is you get this extra kind of public source folder, which makes sense because in version 9, we leverage these types of public folders that you see right here for the public, for integration, for catalog, for the public folders, and then also the different kind of default designer project folders that we have for that version 9 project. But other than that, there is no difference in the version 8 project. So this is a version 8 project. How I know that is because um, there's no project hub kind of a data type that you see here or folder. It's just here's a source folder, here's the project, here's the data types, and that's all that is here. But if I go to the asset tagging, you'll see I get the public, the manage, and all of those different subfolders for version 9 that are apparent in it. So that's really the only difference between the two versions and this current iteration. And so the difficulty here in regard to of just being aware of the repository is just kind of just knowing those two differences between it. Later on in I think later versions of 9, there will be a lot different changes in the version 9 repo, but that's for later iterations of 9. Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think there's a great link that we have on our YouTube channel that I'll put that shout out to Robert that he did, which gives you a great primer on the decisions, let's say decision support on the repository and just kind of gives you the life cycle of what that is. So let me go ahead and grab that video right here. It's called Repository Primer. It gives you a great kind of overview of what the repository is and kind of how to get started on it. So go ahead, watch this video, give a like, comment, subscribe. It helps with the pesky YouTube algorithm. We want to make, Robert, YouTube famous. So if you can help us in that, that'd be great. That's what we're trying to do, but who knows? All right. Any other questions that we can answer that I can kind of show and demonstrate for here? And make sure that link works. I think that link should work. Yeah, it does. Okay, good. Yep, I think there's also good documentation too. I'll also send for the version 9 repo. Repository. But long story short, if anyone wants to know, hey, what are the differences between the version 8 and version 9 repo? Long story short, there is no difference. A version 8 dev server can talk to a version 9 repo, and a version 9 dev server can talk to a version 9 repo. So that's how it is. Just make sure your dev servers are on the same server version. But other than that, there is no difference. Alrighty. All right. Any other comments, questions before we just wrap it up and we'll get this video uploaded to YouTube? All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and start wrapping it up. A couple of things I do want to mention that are fun events that are coming up. We do have a submerse happening shortly in the next coming couple of weeks in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where Decisions is headquartered. Please feel free to register. You'll learn some great things about Decisions and get to meet with other different customers and learn how they use the product. It's a very helpful experience. Another thing to be aware of too is if you have a colleague who maybe just got hired, or if you have a person who just transitioned to the Decisions kind of development side of your office, what you can have them do is you can have them join this Submerse event, having no Decisions experience. And if they complete the introductory course, I believe it's the foundation course inside of Submerse, they will be accredited with completing the online product training that we offer in the Decisions on the Decisions training team. So attending this and going through the foundations course for new users will automatically get you completed in the product training, and you can immediately start the developer course, thus kickstarting your Decisions journey and getting a head start on it. So just wanted to throw that out there. If you have any colleagues or individuals who are just starting out in the platform and who have never done product training, this is a great way to get started. So, all right. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end the call. Thank you so much for attending. Tomorrow, Robert will be hosting the Lunch and Learn, so feel free to attend that. It'll be of great resource and a good experience. So,
Alexander, just check your email inbox. I'm sending to you in about 10 seconds. Thank
Sounds
you,
good to me.
Thank you.
awesome. Sounds good, guys. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.